Oh, that 8:59, dude. Rebel.
8:59 we started. So we'll see if we can gather an audience here. Now, do I have to
Nope, you're live now. There you go.
live now?
It's doing my little elapsed time. And then hit 0. And then show you. How do you feel? You're live.
I am live. Okay, well, the Chaps Dark Side is our very first podcast on this evening. Well, there's nobody watching yet, but we'll just talk away because this does record.
Yeah.
And hopefully people get on a little later. This is our first podcast. Hopefully every other Tuesday at 9 o'clock we'll do this, if audience permits. We'll see how it goes. We've been requested to do a podcast for Chaps for some time, and I guess it starts now. So we should give it a minute or two here, see if some other bodies hop on, and take it from there.
I'm surprised this time it says 0 watching. Last time it said that. Oh,
We have one watching.
last time it said
That's probably my wife downstairs, by the way,
Oh.
or Mike.
Mike said he's going to watch it.
I think Mike's not watching. So anyway, welcome to Chaps Dark Side. Again, first podcast. Tonight, after I do ramble on about what's going on with Chaps and I introduce my guest here, I want to kind of go on about para-entertainment and discussing what that's done with the field of paranormal investigation, or just generally talking about the shows that are out there. And you can discuss with me about shows you like to watch, what you like about them, what you don't. I will be candid with my thoughts on such things, and not the opinions of TAPS, who I'm affiliated with, any particular network, anyone. Shout out to Mike there. Thanks, Mike. So that's where we're going to go with it, and to further with that, discuss what it is that we use tool-wise that have been inspired by the shows. I think sometimes the shows show people what they're looking for. They have these devices they see, and then other teams go out there and they invest in these toys, and you can discuss whether they're worthwhile or not. So who have I got? I know we've got Mike online here. Who's the other one watching? Can you chat in on our live chat and let me know who I've got there and where you're from? If you also can call in, you can call in through Skype. If you look up Chaps Paranormal, you can call in there and voice over.
Oh.
All right, where are you from, Kelly?
That's my girlfriend right there.
Is that your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a very sympathetic audience tonight. That's good. It takes a little while here to build up an audience. So, as discussing here, Chaps, things are rolling quite well with the team. Coming out of winter sometimes is slow. It hasn't really been slow for us down here in the GTA. We've had a number of investigations, more residential than normal. We're actually, the last video that we had just put out about a Curtis area home, we didn't get an EVP on this one there, but the instrumentation was going crazy. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back in 2 Fridays and see if we can dig more out. We used some of our experimental toys at that and yielded some results. Further on to the year, we're headed to the Mansfield prison in May. This you might have seen from the movie Shawshank, Shawshank Redemption. So we're headed to do that prison in May. And the latter part of the year, we're back to Ashmore Estates for a return to Illinois. Great place down there. We're going to spend a couple days there. There in between, we haven't gotten too much booked up yet. A couple public appearances we're going to be doing. We'll see how it rolls. Right about now is when things start to get busy for us again. You'll book up all kinds of investigations, and then sometimes they'll think twice and everything's fine. People aren't crazy. They shouldn't think that they're nuts. We are out there to help you. We don't charge for our services, and we try to keep it as professional as we can. Hey, Cheryl. Yep, you were on last week. Yay. All right. Oh, and my wife is also viewing. That's good. Thank you. So we got all kinds of support. All right. So to introduce my guest back here on the couch, this is Damon.
Hey.
Damon is a guest with our team, and he is grown up around the team. For any history to it, Damon's my nephew. You'll see on our team roster Shannon Cowan. It's one of her twin boys. And he asked if he could check it out, right? And I thought there would be no harm to that because, he's, since a little boy, he's been around us. I dismissed it to begin with because, he's young. But you know what? Kid's 18 years old. He can get out there. He's a dramatic guy, and that adds some flair to things. But also, having a young mind on the team is pretty good too. Matter of fact, this podcast wouldn't exist unless he was around, because he's the one that set it all up. And probably the 15 seconds it took me to use the washroom and come back, and it was all done. So good on him. So, I think he's going to be a good addition to the team as long as he isn't a bonehead like millennials normally are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know how rude I am. Every time you come over, it's just insults directed at you.
Yeah, I know. So he's not the most respectful kid, and that's fine. But then again, if you watch any of our outtake videos, you realize the most of our team aren't necessarily respectful. You've got to keep it going easy when you're on an investigation. If you're at a location till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you got to keep it light, right? So that's good. So we got a few people watching there. We've got a number 5 people watching. Again, you guys can call in. CHAPS Paranormal on Skype. Keeping the texting on the wall there. That's great. Can respond to you. If I kind of jump in and off screen, it's because I haven't figured it all out yet. That's right. There is nothing wrong with having fun. I'm a technical idiot. As most people would know on the team. Sandy, my wife, she produces our videos and really kind of is a technical mind behind things. And me, I talk a lot. So that's what I'm good at. So anyway, getting into the topic at hand. So we're talking about television shows. I think that the television show has helped and hurt, obviously. Back in the day when things were not so prolific as they are now, you might have had a show like In Search Of in the 70s. Leonard Nimoy was cool. They did all the neat stuff there. I enjoyed the show. But it wasn't like what it was later than into the 80s when MTV Sphere came along, and that sort of brought it to the forefront of, let's go to some haunted pool place and see what things we can do to scare ourselves shitless. So that was neat. I didn't know that was the oldest show of, we'll say, today's paranormal entertainment, but it was. And then Most Haunted came along. That's sort of what brought sort of my interest into things in a way, as far as TV goes. I grew up in the spiritualist church, so I was always around this sort of thing. But really, when Most Haunted came out, I was younger, and it made my interests out there. Here you have a monochrome green screen going on, and there was orbs and stuff that back then would have excited me. And Yvette Fielding screaming, running down the hallways in these cool castles. And man, if anybody's kind of like on the cusp of enjoying what that is, that'll do it for you. That kind of show really got me. And then I think VH1 had a show where they did it with stars. They did the MTV Fear, but with stars. So and then Ghost Hunters came along, and then everything else. We're obviously a little biased to Ghost Hunters, being as we are a TAPS family team. We get work from them. And we've had the fortunate time to spend time with them on a more personal level. So, yeah, of course I like that. I didn't even, really, Cheryl, I didn't even realize that Most Haunted is still on.
I've never even heard of the show.
Oh, really?
Said
Well, you see, it's because you're 6 years old. The Most Haunted, wow, it's still on. They had some really, really, really great locations, so I'll give it that. I enjoyed a lot of Most Haunted for that. I did not enjoy Yvette Fielding screaming. I know that her husband Carl, it's the dark-haired guy on the show, they got involved with some other messes somewhere. I taught martial arts. Carl is also into the martial arts, and I had talked to him in a few other different spectrums outside of ghost hunting. I think he got involved with a mess of stuff there too. So whatever. But it was an inspiring show, and it's too bad that it's gone down the drink. Really, to be honest with you, a lot of those shows have really gone down the drink. I mean, Ghost Hunters isn't on the air anymore. They're searching for another network. I'm not sure what kept with them. I enjoyed the show. I think that their lineup change on the show was part and parcel why things may have switched up. I think when they split up Steve and Tango, I think that kind of took away some of the mojo of the show.
Tango was my favorite too. So.
Yeah, and Tango's an interesting cat to meet.
He's when my mom got along really
well. He's a pretty nice guy. He's a very, very nice guy. You know what? Some of the guys on the show are really awesome. Grant was amazing. We spent a lot of time sitting around a campfire yapping to Grant, and very open and honest kind of guy. I think the TV show itself kind of got to him, though. I think the whole not being able to go do his own thing. Grant was a musician, and he designs like board games, and he's into fantasy world stuff. And I think a lot of that just beat the hell out of him after a while. And then of course the show had to change. They had to move who was partnered up with who, right? And I'm not sure if that worked all that well for them.
Yeah.
When you got the other show, I mean, I don't know what everybody's favorite show is out there. You can type in and say what your favorite show is. I'll just talk about the shows while you type. You know what, Cheryl, I agree with you there. You're talking about Annette Fielding screaming, and wow, man, she's still screaming. That's crazy. That's 20 plus years of screaming. Annette is an annoying person to watch on TV. What else can you say? And unfortunately, they've had a bad run with psychics on that show. I don't bother with the psychics on my team. We had one medium on our team, Donalda. Donalda, I knew her background. I knew where she had studied and this and that, so I trusted that. But I haven't had one since. We've worked with teams that have mediums. Nah. If you want to spend your money and go see them, that's fine. But when I hear about mediums from going to homes and charging $300 to clear your house, it's to be candid, it's bullshit. So, wow, that's are you afraid of the dark? That was a YTV program, wasn't it? Okay, so now we're going to talk about shows, right, in general.
Yeah. So
you guys inspired me on conversations. I actually, for what it's worth, was a real big fan of YTV's, was it Ghost Trackers? They were kids. They were like 15-year-old kids going in with basically, they looked a little more animated, but really, honestly, the same kind of equipment we use. These kids had cojones because, I was 14 years old. You're going to shove me into a prison by myself. There's going to be a lot left behind. So, I really, really enjoyed that show. And actually, I believe it was hosted by a lad that was going to be on one of our investigations. I'll have to think about that. But Ghost Trackers is a good show. Are You Afraid of the Dark? I actually don't think I've ever watched it. Now I'm going to. I'm going to go back to. Ghost Brothers. Well, that's new. Ghost Brothers is funny. Ghost Brothers, it's a funny show. For anybody, obviously we don't know because we don't have too much personal life on here. Again, on my team, Shannon and her husband Mike, we head over every
Thursday
night on Thursday night. I'm getting tripped up because I got a text. Sorry, I could only handle one thing at a time. Here, do me a favor. I'm going to hand this back to him, and he's going to answer that.
I'm going to answer it.
Yeah, that's
Woo!
Chris going. So we go over there, and I lost my total track of mind. What was I talking about? What were we going to go over and talk about?
Ghost Brothers.
Ghost Brothers. Thanks. Okay. So watching Ghost Brothers. Ghost Brothers is a funny show. I think I joke around because my employees, they're brothers, and they say that we don't do this kind of shit. We don't do this investigation stuff. And I said, well, you watch the show, and it's sort of, if you're overly serious about what we do, you won't enjoy the show. That's right, Mike. Pop the trunk. That's their statement before they start investigating. They do try and make it seem like they're investigating, and there's a lot of euphemisms they use on the show. It's a lot of fun. If you can watch the shows to be entertained, it's not so bad. I know there's another one, Brothers in the Hood, which is in like Compton. That's crap, and it's upsetting to watch because it makes what we do look ridiculous. Okay. Did you answer them up?
I did.
Good man. Unfortunately, there was a lad from my team who was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it. So he wants to now know how he can watch it.
We're typing in the chat. I don't know if he's already watching it, but if he's watching it,
if you're watching it, Chris, take Damon's instructions, not mine. It was Damon that responded to you because I can't talk and text at the same time.
You can't chat on TV, but you can chat like on your phone or something.
Right.
If you're watching.
Yeah.
Because on your TV, it's like
I don't know. So some of these shows, Ghost Adventurers is another one. Zach Baggins, and having conversations with Zach, you definitely are getting exactly what he is on TV. That's not it's not my particular kind of show. Frankly, I'm actually kind of glad that Nick left the show. I actually enjoy Paranormal Lockdown quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little glancier the second season that it's out. It's a little more dramatic. But you know what? I still like the whole way that Ghost Adventurers I used to really enjoy because they were sequestered in a house. They actually locked the door. It was just them with a couple handy cams. It was very, very primal. And then it became, very showy, like most of them. But unfortunately, I don't care for the stuff that Zach comes up with as far as his evidence goes. Look, some of the episodes we've seen with Nick are maybe, well, it's a production, right? There's producers, but it seems more pure. And Nick does seem like a fairly sincere guy. I've shared a couple messages with him online, and he seems pretty cool. I haven't spoken to Katrina yet. I like her too. I like that show. So guys, you can keep mentioning shows that you've watched and which ones you like. Cheryl, that was the next step. Probably the second half of our podcast, I was going to kind of get into that point,
yeah.
Which was about the stuff that Steve Huff is making. We're in agreement. Do you know what? I think, like the Wonder Box, it's got like the barbed wire and the Christmas lights on it. I don't know why it's got to look like that, and they kind of make it look like it's 50 years old and mean. And
it makes it look like
huge. Huge. Look, I'm an investigator, man. I want something I can stuff in my pocket. I don't want a big honking piece of...
It's like carrying a TV.
Like an old box-style TV. And I'm in a complete agreement with you, Cheryl, because when something yields that many results in an investigation, and as a veteran of, we're coming on to like 500 investigations now. I could only pray and pay for that kind of evidence on every single investigation. When you have a device that basically has a pre-selected dictionary it can pull from, it's the same as why I never bothered to get involved with the Ovilus. I know Ovilus is really popular. I don't like it because it's fallible, right? I want things that are kind of pure. I'm also not a big fan of how everybody in the shows nowadays, like Kindred Spirits says it too. I'm not the biggest fan of that show. No, I haven't seen. Have you seen the one vid where he has copper wire around his head? No, was that Nick Groff? Oh, good lord. Do you know what, Mike? I agree with you there. We had a good time watching Ghost Hunters Academy, and then of course Zach did his own little spin-off. The name escapes me at this point in time. You know, we had the big what was the bullhorn he had, the wee thing, that paranormal challenge. You know, they were okay. What they were fun for was you're looking at people that were us, right? Like we're not on TV, but now we're talking to people that have sort of the same experience we do, but we're vying for a position on their team, so we're going to compete with each other. It was a fun thing to watch. I couldn't lower myself to doing it, and unfortunately, what's happened is a lot of those guys that were on those competition shows are now have their own shows, and now they're experts. So 5 years ago they were competing and being criticized, and you were seeing how much of an idiot they were, and then 5 years later they got a damn show. Ghost Asylum. The guy that runs Ghost Asylum, that's the, oh dear, some Kentucky-based team. The guy that runs that was on Ghost Hunters Academy. And now they're one of the biggest shows in the States. So, oh dear. Yeah, well, I said the whole Huff thing. I don't like that other one that they've got there. It's not the Wonder Box, the Geo Box. The one they carry around also looks like a 90-year-old radio you turn on the table. But what it does is it makes the words sound like they're coming out backwards. A lot of stuff. Now, I'm guilty. Every now and then, I find a toy I like. You can't be involved with a pragmatic science and not look at something and go, could this work? Let's see. Otherwise nothing would ever get done in science. It's all about experimenting with things that somebody would say you're an idiot. Yeah, some of the Ghost Asylum episodes were good. We investigated St. Albans, and I actually used their episode to do the pre-research on it, just basic research. But it's an interesting, fun show. I don't know exactly how good they are, some of their evidences, but again, let's realize something it's a show. Going back to equipment. On lockdown, if you had seen the episode with Ben Hansen, who I've been chatting to for a couple of years now, he had brought some light panels to Waverly. Yep, I'm guilty. I went out and I bought a couple of those panels. I had to talk to Ben because I couldn't find them. And then Ben directed me to a company in the States that makes kids' educational toys, and that's where it came from. Not the cheapest things I've bought in the last dozen years or so.
And did you find there was like a problem with it as well too? With it?
A problem?
Like,
oh hell, I hope there's not a problem. The receptors. So, I think one of the things that you might see. So if you watch future episodes of Paranormal Lockdown, you're going to see these light panels get used. I've used it a couple times now. I love the panels. I like them. Because why? Because they look damn cool. It's supposed to detect. It's a proximity detector, and any blockage of light, and they're super sensitive. We'll let it go, and it'll mark in. So I've got 2 panels, which are about 2 feet by 2 feet, and so that gives me a fairly good stretch of space as to something's moving. I like them. They're pricey. I mean, like after I got nailed with brokerage fees coming across the border, I think they cost me about $500. So I don't know if I like them that much. But so what's different about it? If you watch the shows, this is where you need to be careful. Sydney, that was our other young person on the team, right? Sydney was your age when she joined the team, actually younger. She'd been with us now for 5+ years. She had discovered that. So we have obviously IR booms on our cameras. Our cameras are made to pick up infrared light in the dark, and we have a better sense of the term, a spotlight that you can't see, but it's if you turn that off and on, the IR lights will set the panels off.
Mm-hmm.
So if you even move like this and move back, the panels will go off as if somebody's in the room.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to watch out for that. The light has to remain constant on the panels. So now we set it up like with a static camera where the infrared's on, but it's not off and on, and then they stay settled down. Our last investigation, We had it set up. We didn't get any results that way. You know, it wasn't. There was no result from it, except in the basement. But I'm like 50-50 on it. I don't know if that was us causing it. So we need to do some more. We're going back to that same location, that same house. If you watch our video about the Curtis investigation, it's about 2 minutes long. It's just a highlight thing. You'll see what was happening there. Except it was only what we caught on camera. Our K2 that night, and I'm not a big K2 guy. You know what I mean? K2 just is a barometer, but it was nailing reds like for 10-15 seconds straight, and then once the girl that was living there started talking again, 10-15 seconds straight.
It was just really weird.
Right, it was strange. So we're gonna see if we can reproduce that when we go back, because I've never used that as evidence. I don't care to, but I will if I need to. I think we better answer. Again, remember, I can't do two things at once. So, these shows, they do give us some great ideas. You know, it's not cheap to do what we do, and it is a matter of investment. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I have a fantastic team of people that you know, help with fundraising, and we get together and, you know, we'll do bottle drives or whatever, and we'll get some money together and buy new equipment. Have a good night, Cheryl. Thanks for being here. So some of the equipment that we have gets expensive, but it comes, you know, the ideas from a show. There's nothing wrong with watching a show. I've actually gotten more out of collaborating with other teams. There are other teams we've worked with in the States, across Ontario, teams that even came to us for tutelage. You know, it does happen once in a while. You'll have a younger team. It's like, you know, can we do some investigations with you guys? And I see some methods that they're using, and I'm going like, that's a really, really great method. We're going to start using that. Matter of fact, I'll shout that out to cops out of Belleville. Years ago, they asked us to work with them, and you know, we didn't keep our headphones on while we listened to our audio. Didn't think much about the microphones and the audio acting as a parabolic dish. Now we do, because I saw them doing it, and I thought, I'm going to try this out, you know, and I threw like a cheap pair of headphones on. Whoa, the difference was fantastic. So now that, you know, it basically switched. So now that the audio is a position all on its own, you know, it's its own position, and yeah, that's inspired by the teams and by shows. The downside when it comes to the shows, however, when it comes to is what people's expectations is, especially when we go on investigations or when I go to do a one-on-one chat, is some disillusions. We make lots of money at what we do. I don't know anybody on our team that's retired except for Dan up north. B, we're coming with a huge camera crew. We're going to make a show of it. C, if TAPS revert it to us, we're going to show up at your house, and Jason and Grant are going to be there. You know, we're going to make it all dramatic, and it's going to be like all-out warfare going on. So that's probably one of the biggest effects that we have is that, I mean, we're not a show. We're not there to impress you. We're there to help diagnostics. What's Chris?
I sent him a video. I have a voice message by accident.
Oh. He can do things on my phone that I can't.
I didn't mean to. It was an accident.
Oh.
I didn't even mean to press it. I was trying to send him a message, and then I tapped the voice right there.
So, where it comes down to it, the shows, they haven't necessarily helped us a great deal. You know, it depends on, as we go to what client, what show they watch. Isn't that strange? Somebody will contact us for help, and they're big Ghost Adventurers fans. Mm-hmm. So then, you know, we're going to have all this gear there that's going to be funky, and if it's not dramatic enough, and I'm not walking around like Zach Baggins, all, you know, flexing my muscles and, you know, talking about it, well, then they're upset. And unfortunately, because they watch the shows and they see all this horrible stuff happening, or all these freaky things with the ghosts, it doesn't happen, then they think that we're not a decent team because we're not bringing that stuff out, right? You know, and I'm like, well, it is what it is, folks. You know,
even if their house isn't haunted.
Even if their house isn't haunted, right? That's, you know, that comes right down to a different issue altogether. Nobody wants. Don't forget your awesome belt buckle. Thanks, Mike. I don't have an awesome one, but for my birthday next Saturday, you can buy me an awesome belt buckle. Yeah. So the shows don't necessarily do us a lot, and the toys that they use in the shows don't necessarily do us a lot. So let's get a call out happening here. So I know I've got Mike out there, and I think I've got Damon's girlfriend out there, and looks like I've got. Who else do we have out there? Cheryl had to go. So I'm thinking it's going to be Mike, Dad Gibbs, which is my wife, and the girlfriend. So I've got 5 people watching now. So please, if you can type into the live screen there who I've got here, just so I know. And why don't you can discuss what your particular favorite shows are. Any shows you like? Yeah, well, yeah. I'm just doing all the talking.
Sorry, I was trying to see if there was no message. But what I used to always watch when I was a kid was Ghost Hunters, all the time. That was my #1 show. I'd watch it all the time. That was the only thing I'd ever watch ghost related, really. And then I would be around you and my mom and stuff, and then I'd watch what you guys would upload on YouTube sometimes. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing would be probably just watching. As a kid, though. This is when I'm a kid. Dave Tango.
You're still a kid.
I'm 18. Legally an adult. Still kind of a kid, though. Kid at heart. But Dave Tango would, go up into, the attic or something, and you'd be, trying to get the ghost or whatever.
Right. Kind of antagonizing it? Grandstanding?
Yeah.
Yeah. Depends on where we are, what the client wants. That can be fun. When we're investigating prisons, they're often the ones that say, "Hey, talk how you want with these guys." And because we're not an antagonistic team, that's a really great opportunity for us to just let it. You got murderers and diddlers in there, and that's fine. You know what? I've got no respect for that stuff. So let's let it happen. West Virginia Penitentiary, probably where we've done some of our best antagonizing. We got some pretty good stuff. If you watch the video of our investigation there, Sandy and I were working together in the north wing, which is where all the bad guys were. Mm-hmm. And I seem to forget how it was. I think Sandy was working on their side, and I was cussing them out, mm-hmm. back and forth. And we're getting into a pretty good little fight. Actually, we're yelling and screaming at each other. I think she meant it. I didn't.
Yeah.
Sandy's a mean-spirited lady, so we started to have rocks pelted at us.
Really?
Yeah. So we're in this caged-in area. You can't get to the upper deck, mm-hmm. and we have these rocks pinging off the fence above us. We're inside the jail, and hitting us in the head from above, landing all over the way around. No, it wasn't. No, Sandy. Sandy's online here. You were the one. You were on the prisoner's side. I'm right and you're wrong. So we were getting pinged away. We had one investigator. We were at the same place, and we were radioing. Kevin, who was with the team then, was up in the psych ward. And if you watch the video, you can see I'm radioing, and you hear this scream in the background as Kevin's talking. And I'm like, you hear that there? And he's like, no, I know what you're talking about. I'm like, so it's on film. It's on film. Really, really great. I'm going to have a show based on just stories if I can write them all down. You get a couple hundred investigations into your belt, and people are like, tell me a story.
Too many stories.
There's too many stories to tell.
Don't even know where to start.
So out there, are there any of the toys you guys like out there? Any of the things you don't particularly care for? Any of the tools that they use on the shows? We're a big audio team. I upgraded our audios a couple of years ago to Zoom. The West Virginia Penitentiary was an excellent location. That's right, Mike came with us down there. It was a good night. Audio is where we put our money. We really don't get into too many toys. We do have a thermal camera. Heaven forbid we haven't got the thermal camera like they have on the shows. Thermal camera they use on the shows, like a video camera thermal. $15,000, $20,000 used. We have one that hooks up to my wife's phone. It's about this big. It cost about $400. That was enough. That was, I think I bought myself that for Father's Day a couple of years ago.
It probably works fine too.
It works the same thing. It gets the whole point, right? And all you got to do is upload the video, and it takes pictures too. And then we kind of make use of a few things. I see teams using now. Maybe I was a pioneer on it, but using drones. I just use the drone for the aerial shots of where we are, and depending. I want to take a drone to Mansfield State. However, behind Mansfield, that's the old prison, there's a new prison. And you can't be within a couple miles of a prison, which really sucks. Because a drone would be really cool flying over that. But somehow I get the idea that a shotgun through my drone wouldn't make me a happy camper whatsoever. No, Mike. I haven't caught anything. Look, I'll tell you what, at this point in time so far, and it's okay, I'll admit, the FLIR technology has been interesting to use for dramatic effect and interesting pictures and film. No, we've never caught anything on it yet. I don't necessarily know that I've seen a lot of shows that have even. CHAPS had a show at the Crescent Hotel. Their episode at the Crescent Hotel. This is what got me into the infrared, where they had what looked like a soldier with their Duffy cap turning and looking down, and what they had it focused against was a set of lockers. So I don't know how. I don't know if there was reflective of something else. It could be. Sandy did a lot of testing when we have our 101s every single year. Sandy had built into our 101 the dangers of using thermal technology, because we had an investigation in Pembroke, and we took a picture, and it looked like there was like a ghost standing behind Sandy. Matter of fact, when I do 101s, here, I'm going to open that up for you. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Just a brief pause, guys. So I'm going to figure out how to put the video on this too. We're going to learn how to put video in the background so you can see this, because I'd like to be able to use this as a forum to talk about that. But the picture that I showed originally up at the 101, you could tell with the heat signature and the way the hand was, it was Sandy holding a video camera. Back in those days, Sandy was our videographer. And in the back behind her, there was two cold signatures, right? And the audience at the 101, I had 100 or so odd people there, lost their mind. Oh my God, look at it, this is freaky. I said, I said, we were smart enough. We took a second picture right after that, because when we took that picture originally, that came up. So we took another picture for reference. What it was is there was actually, like, those, I don't know what the hell it's called, a crokinole wheel or a bingo wheel. You spin it, like old school fairs, and it had an acrylic surface. So what it was doing was reflecting our shadows onto it. But of course, there wouldn't be a heat signature to it, because our shadows wouldn't have our heat, but it would show our shadows. So you got to be really super careful with thermal technology, and a lot of people spend a damn load of money on that stuff. I mean, one of the pistol style cameras, it just takes pictures. That's $1,500. $1,500. Good God. Which is, by the way, the same cost as this Wonder Box that's on Paranormal Lockdown. So I'm not that. Thank you, Michael. The game is Crown and Anchor, and he's very right. It is too. This is just proving that Mike is old. Yeah. Because you wouldn't have known that game, would you? No, you wouldn't know at all.
I don't know that game at all.
Right,
I'm lost.
Because you're young. So Mike is just proving his age. See, I grew up with him, so he's got to be old, right? So the toys that the shows bring out can be pretty damaging. The shows, like K2 meters on shows, they really go nuts over that. A lot of other teams, you watch their videos, and oh my God, well in this house here, we had 3 K2 hits. That's absolute proof. Or we have our millimeter. Take a look at the millimeter. It's a 0.5 milligauss. There's a portal here. Okay, teams out there, if you're saying that there's a portal in somebody's house, get the F out of that house and let us come in there, please. I've gone to so many houses where there's a portal, there's no such thing. Okay, well, okay, maybe there's such thing, but I've never investigated a house where there's 200 spirits coming up through the floor and trying to eat your children and your cats. Some of the things that some psychics say, or some teams when they come in and they do this research with such basic tools. K2 is a barometer. The K2 sits on the bed when you're doing a solo, and if it goes off, it might be a reason to ask another question. Never base a case off K2. And so many teams do that. It's absolutely mind-numbing what we come across that other teams consider to be evidence. And these are the teams, unfortunately, that are getting a lot of high-scale investigations.
Because everyone goes crazy about it too when they see it, because they don't really know what it was.
It's completely dramatic.
Yeah.
There are places that we can't investigate, even in Durham region. Either because what a television show somebody has seen and went, hey, Chris is on, yay!
Hey.
Okay, so I've got a couple investigators on tonight. That's good. Excellent, Chris. I'm glad you were able to make it. Now I can leave the show. There's a lot of teams in the area and shows that will give a preconceived notion. Shows right off the bat, people see shows and they go, I'm not really keen on that stuff. It's a bit much. But then when you have teams that use the wrong kind of equipment and they model themselves off the shows, see, there's now where I'm getting back into that loop that shows can be dangerous. You've got teams that are screamers and runners, and this is what paranormal investigation is supposed to be, damn it. It's supposed to be about drama and being scared. I want to be scared too. And what they do is they destroy a place for any legitimate team that wants to go in. We've gone into some pretty great places. I'm not going to say which one because that's going to expose which team screwed it up for everybody. And we go in there with some pretty decent credentials.
That was you.
Was that me?
That was you.
I'm hearing my delay downstairs in my own house. I'll get to the other questions in a second there. But, they basically said, we don't want your kind here. So for the other teams that go around and scream and run and tell everybody that there's things leaching out of their walls and that there are dead people hanging up all over the house, and anything else you would see in the movie The Conjuring or Amityville, stop doing what you're doing right away and keep investigating graveyards and leave the homes to people that know what they're doing. Okay, so going here. So Gibbs says, I think the Geoport looks pretty cool, minus the fact they get results with it on every investigation. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think the Geoport is also a cool-looking toy. I got to admit, when they first brought it out, I didn't see what it did. The audio off the Geoport sounded cool. I was like, oh my god, let's get that. And we have a game, like when we sit around on date night and we watch shows like Paranormal Lockdown, I know Sandy's there on her phone and she's looking up all the toys that they have. And I think that one was $1,500 US. So I'm never spending that. The coolness of it went away. That's awesome. You're very right. It's neat. It sounds cool. It would be exciting. Would it be one of those things that if we're on like a dry investigation, any investigator knows what a dry investigation is. You're out of questions. Okay, you know what? For me, it's the same thing as the voice box or Ovilus. I don't use Ovilus, but it's the same thing. It can help you. If it comes up with something, you might go, okay, let's go on. Let's run with this.
This is like the 6th time someone said I look like Justin Trudeau.
You do look like Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. It's the nose. It's the big nose.
Yeah. And you're not French.
No.
You're not French at all.
No.
You're not native at all.
No.
Justin Trudeau is French and native.
Yeah, I'm neither of those.
But I guess you look like it. Be a stunt double. Okay. So, anyway, Shani asked, my thoughts about dowsing rods. Yeah, because we see dowsing rods on a lot of investigations. Well, dowsing rods are good for finding wells. Dowsing rods are used to find water sources. They work off of magnetic resonance. You know what I mean? But you see these Zoopal heads on investigations with dowsing rods. I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. Let's step this back. Exactly, Kevin. We'll move it back for a second. If there's a situation now where we want to play with some experimental stuff, because okay, anybody who's worked with me in the past knows like I don't like the SB7, the spirit box. Listening to drives me crazy. But anybody who's worked with me also know that given proper investigation, I'll be like, okay, we'll try it out. Why? Because we're not scientists, but we're in a pragmatic science. And Zuppelhead's a great word, Mike. Shut up. It's my word. If you have something like that where you want to find the right investigation, I don't want to do an investigation in the city. It's going to be just 1,000 radio stations, but you got to give everything its worthwhile. So if somebody brought dowsing rods to a investigation, am I going to try them out? Maybe, yeah. Why not? I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not, I mean, it's not like people are going to come out of that investigation and go, "Holy shit, he's got dowsing rods. Get them out." I might have a statement I'd make about it, but why not? I might try dowsing rods with something along with it. I might want to experiment with dowsing rods to see if the rods are going, if the K2's near there, is it getting the same resonance happening? Mm-hmm. I would want to play with them, but like I'm into using the basic tools, which is like audio, right? Audio, video, pictures, blah blah blah. Not like 1,000 million things that they use on the shows, but sometimes some things maybe are just a little too basic in the way that it's really fallible. Like, is there a ghost or is there water? Who knows, right? And I think that it's a little too.
Got a shovel to check.
I mean, but don't get me wrong. If you go back in time to like the original ghost, people, you get Harry Price. Harry Price used to use like a ticker tape machine, like the way when the stop counts would come in, and it would be an electrical impulse that would set it off. It wasn't even noise; it was electricity. It's sort of like an older EMF detector. Mm-hmm. That's all he used. So that's awesome. You know what I mean? And I kind of would like to go back to that sort of purity. I'd like to do an investigation where I was scared shitless, and I had really basic tools that just went off that I didn't think that they were created so that they would pick up on impulses that are mechanical or whatever. So I'd love to take it back to that. I'd even love to take it back to when we started investigating. And you'd lose your mind seeing an orb. Because back then it was like, oh my God, every single place I do is haunted. Look at all these orbs. But we all had to grow up at some point. Some teams do that. There are other teams out right now that are trying to make. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So Kevin,
that was the one with the casket opening. Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. So Kevin, and Owen, you were going to do it too. I want to bring up. Okay. So yeah, getting scared shitless, absolutely. You know what? We investigated a place in Smith Falls years ago that used to have funerals in there, and they were having a funeral exhibit. I was interested because I was going to be studying to become a funeral director. So I went in there. That was back when we did a lot of solo work. So I went into this area where we had embalming tools, and there was 4 or 5 coffins in there. The rest of my team this was a 20,000 square foot mansion. It was a beast. To me, they were 30 kilometers away, but they were very far away. Mm-hmm. I sequestered myself, and I was in the room, and I felt this breeze go past my face. And I says, okay, all right, that's good. I'm indoors. So I sat down on the settee, and then I felt pressure beside me, sitting down. I was thinking, this is pretty awesome. Yeah. And then there was a basket that carried rotten bodies. Like it wasn't a coffin. And it had a wicker basket, and it had a lid on the top of it. And then the lid fell off in front of me. So let's get real. I shit myself, seriously. I always tell my team that don't run. Don't run. It causes mass hysteria. It's a safety issue. I ran around the corner, knocked my shoulder out of place, ran down the hall until I realized, of course, we have DVRs. They're all set up, and now my team is going to see me running like a scared little kitten. The good thing about it, however, is the DVR broke that night. It didn't record a single thing.
Oh.
Sandy will ascertain that I shut it off, but I did not, because I don't know how to shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Sandy was asking.
One night though, that something actually like crazy like that.
Well, no. What she didn't care about it catching that footage. Yeah. She wanted to see me running. Absolutely, she does a gag reel every single day. Me running would be worth lots of money to the team. Sandy, what are your thoughts on using Kinect for investigation? I'm skeptical about it. Can't lie. When I see it on TV, it's kind of weird. It looks like when I see the digital mapping, to me it looks like, to be rude, it looks like stick people touching themselves.
Yeah, they look like they're having
they look like they're having a great little time on themselves. There's a lot of this stuff going on. However, it's something I want to experiment with. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. It is cool, and you've got a person standing here, and all of a sudden, there's no right reason why something should be there. And again, what we do pragmatically is investigate. Well, this is what we're supposed to be doing, and that's taking different devices and tools and toys and seeing how they work. Right? We've investigated. I know Chris and I did an investigation. And Shan, actually all of us that are online right now, up in Oakwood, where we had a smoke machine going, and with lasers to the smoke machine, and we had a strobe light going off, just to see if the differences in the light patterns would that catch things better. The strobe machine just made everybody sick, and the smoke was neat, but again, after a while, it smelled like chalk. So you're in theater, so you know what smoke machines smell like. But going to the Kinect, most definitely, it's definitely flawed, and it's definitely something that you could play with and try to see what comes up. Because then what you got to do is you got to have different diagnostic tools running at the same time, filming the same spot. If we're getting results here, what's the EM there? What's this? We have a DVR camera on the very same spot. It's not proof, right? But it's viable.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it's the greatest investigation tool in history. I have no idea. And Mike's got it right. You can play Dance Dance Revolution during the breaks, like Chris did on that video. If you look up our North Oshawa home investigation, you'll see our investigator Chris Goring having his best dance moves, because we were testing what they said they had saw. But it does look cool. You can modify if you've got the parts already. We're very fortunate that we've got somebody who's donated a laptop, somebody donated the Kinect, and Sandy's done the research on how to rewire things. So it's not really costing us anything. So you're right, Kevin. If it meant $1,000, I'm probably not going to do it. Right? Like I said, I just spent a couple $100 on those light panels. They're neat and cool, but I got to be frank with you. If I knew that it was going to cost me $120 in brokerage, I probably would have waited.
Nobody likes playing dance, but
does nobody like playing Dance Revolution? Chris, I could have sworn that night during that investigation, you were having the time of your life. And maybe next week when, do you know what? Yeah, I have a shorter clip of that we had to edit in. So maybe on next week's show, when we figure out how to insert a video, we'll put that video on.
Okay.